Hello viewers and my students, welcome to my channel. In this video, I am going to discuss 30 important MCQs from Ode to a Nightingale, the famous poem by John Keats. This is set 3. To watch the other sets and also the text and annotation of the poem, follow the links given below in the description or press the I button. So let's get started. Number 61. In the previous two sets, up to 60 questions are discussed containing 30 each. So this set starts from 61, where but to think is to be full of sorrow. Here the place refers to, the options are the earth, the world of the nightingale, heaven, Hades. This line is from the third stanza, and we know in the third stanza of the poem, Keats presents a dismal picture of the earth, that is, the sufferings and sorrows of this earth. And here he shows that everything on this earth is subject to decay and death, that is, mortality. And in this context, he says, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies, where but to think is to be full of sorrow and leaden-eyed despair. So, here the place refers to, obviously, the earth, because according to Keats, this earth is full of sufferings and sorrows, miseries and affliction. So, the right option is A, the earth. Next, number 62. On first looking into Chapman's Homer is a or an. The options are essay, sonnet, ode, lyric. We know on first looking into Chapman's Homer is actually a sonnet, and it was first published in 1816 and then again it was published in 1817, and this work is considered Keats's first mature poem. So the right option is B, sonnet. Next, 63. I cannot see what flowers are dash, fill in the blank. The options are in the tree, in the garden, at my feet, above my head. This line is from the fifth stanza. We know that the fifth stanza is full of sensuous descriptions, and Keats escapes into the world of the nightingale from this actual world of sufferings and sorrows through imagination. And after reaching the world of the nightingale, he finds that darkness prevails there, because the world of the nightingale is the dim forest. And he says, I cannot see what flowers are at my feet, nor what soft incense hangs upon the boughs. So, the right option is at my feet, because Keats himself says, I cannot see what flowers are at my feet, because darkness prevails in the world of the nightingale. That's why the poet is unable to see the flowers at his feet, nor the flowers hanging from the branches of the trees. Next, number 64. Where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes. Here, beauty refers to, the options are Fanny Brawne, Rose, the moon, women of beauty. We know that Keats loved the woman named Fanny Brawne, but his love affair did not materialize. And this line is from the third stanza, and the third stanza we know Keats presents the sufferings and sorrows of this earth, and according to him, everything on this earth is subject to decay and death. And in the third stanza he says, where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes. So here beauty means obviously beautiful women or beautiful girls, that is, women of beauty in general. So the right option is D, and this line is also an example of synecdoche rhetorically, because beauty is an abstraction. It is said, but beautiful women or beautiful girls are meant. So this is an example of abstract for concrete. So synecdoche. So here we find the right option is D, women of beauty. Next, 65, fade far away, dissolve and quite forget. Kids wants to forget. The options are the bird, the world of the nightingale, the miseries of the earth, the moonlit night. This line is from the third stanza, and here Keats says, fade far away, dissolve and quite forget what thou among the leaves hast never known, the weariness, the fever and the fret. That is, the poet or Keats wants to forget the weariness, the fever and the fret. That is, sufferings and sorrows or miseries of the earth. So the right option is obviously C, the miseries of the earth, because according to Keats, this earth is full of sufferings and sorrows, miseries and affliction. And that's why he wants to transport himself to the world of the nightingale, where actual happiness prevails. And he wants to get rid of this world of sufferings and sorrows. So the right option is C, the miseries of the earth. Next, 66, Ode to a Nightingale was published in, the options are 1817, 1818, 1819, 1820. We know that Ode to a Nightingale was written in spring 1819 and was published in the same year 1819. So the right option is C, 1819. Next, 67, or new love pine at them beyond tomorrow. Here, Keats thinks of his own love affair with, the options are Fanny, Fanny means Fanny Brawne, Mary, and Harriet. We know that Keats loved the woman named Fanny Brawne, and this line is from the third stanza, and in the third stanza he presents a dismal picture of the earth, that is the sufferings and sorrows, miseries and affliction of this actual world. And in this context he says, where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, or new love pine at them beyond tomorrow. New love means young lovers. That is, love affairs on this earth is transitory and it does not exist more than 1 or 2 days. So, in this line, obviously he remembers or recollects his own love affair with Fanny Brawne, and we know that his love affair did not materialize. So the right option is A, Fanny Brawne. And in this line we find an autobiographical reference or subjectivity or personal element, because here Keats remembers his own love affair with Fanny Brawne. Next, 68, Tom or Thomas Keats died in, the options are 1817, 1818, 1819, 1820. We know that Tom Keats or Thomas Keats, the younger brother of John Keats, died on 1st December 1818. So the right option is B, 1818. And in the poem Ode to a Nightingale, Keats remembers or recollects his brother in the third stanza through the line, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies. So the right option is B, 1818, because his brother Tom Keats died in 1818 and he died of tuberculosis. Next, 69, what thou among the leaves hast never known. Here the poet says that the bird does not experience, the options are mortality, imagination, sorrows, wisdom. This line is from the third stanza, and here Keats says, fade far away, dissolve and quite forget. That is, he wants to retire into the dim forest or the world of the nightingale. Why? What thou among leaves hast never known, the weariness, the fever and the fret. That is, the bird living amidst dim forest does not experience the weariness, the fever and the fret, meaning sufferings and sorrows of the earth. So the right option is C, sorrows, because the bird does not experience sorrows or sufferings which human beings suffer on this earth. That's why Keats wants to transport himself to the world of the nightingale in order to get rid of the sorrows and sufferings of this earth. Next, number 70. No hungry generations tread thee down. Regarding human generations, here Keats is, the options are hopeful, depressed, proud, satirical. This line is from the 7th stanza, and here Keats says, thou wast not born for death, immortal bird, no hungry generations tread thee down. That is, according to the poet, the bird is immortal. Actually, not the bird, but the song is immortal. And no hungry generations tread thee down. And here the poet makes a comparison. Because unlike the bird, human beings are always in a competition. They are always hungry or dissatisfied. So here hungry means obviously dissatisfied. And here we find a tone of satire. So Keats here is obviously satirical. So the right option is D, satirical. Because unlike the bird, human beings are engaged in the struggle for existence and they are in the competition. But the bird is not engaged in any kind of competition, rather it carries forward the tradition. As a result, the song of the bird gets immortality. Next, 71. Keats died in. The options are 1820, 1822, 1823, 1821. We know the lifespan of John Keats. He was born on 31st October 1795 and died on 23rd February 1821. So he was alive only for 25 years and he died in 1821. So the right option is D, 1821. And we know that he died of tuberculosis or consumption. Next, 72. Where palsy shakes a few sad last grey hairs. Here palsy means the options are lady, male person, death, old age. This line is from the third stanza, and in the third stanza, Keats presents the sorrows and sufferings of the earth, and in this context, he says, here where men sit and hear each other groan, where palsy shakes a few sad last grey hair, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies, where but to think is to be full of sorrow. That is, everything on this earth is full of sufferings and sorrows. And in this context, he says that palsy, that is old age or old men or old persons, shakes a few sad last grey hairs. That is, they with a few grey hairs on their heads hobble along trembling and tottering. Their life is indeed a very sad one. So, palsy means obviously old age. So the right option is D, old age. And rhetorically, this is also an example of synecdoche, because here abstract for the concrete, because palsy is an abstraction. Because old age or abstraction is said, but old persons are meant. So, abstract for the concrete. Next, 73. Ode to a Nightingale is noted for. The options are sensuousness, realism, imagery, pun. Realism and pun are not so prominent. Images are there in the poem, but we know that Keats is mainly noted for sensuousness. And regarding his sensuousness, Matthew Arnold made the comment, Keats was abundantly and enchantingly sensuous. So the right option is A, sensuousness, because John Keats is noted for sensuousness. So the right option is A, sensuousness. Next, 74. Light-winged dryad of the trees. Here the poet suggests that the movement of the bird is, the options are slow, quick, very slow, like the poet. This line is from the opening stanza, and the full line is, that thou, light-winged dryad of the trees, in some melodious plot. And light-winged obviously suggests the quick movement of the bird. And dryad we know wood nymph. And the bird or nightingale is compared to a dryad. And it is called light-winged. Light, that is the wing of the bird is light, suggesting is quick movement. So the right option is B, quick. Next, 75. In the third stanza, Keats presents a or an dash picture of the earth. The options are joyful, sensuous, dismal, imaginary. We know that in the third stanza, John Keats presents the sufferings and sorrows, miseries and affliction of this earth, or the sufferings of the people in general on this earth. So, the picture he presents is obviously unhappy or melancholy or sorrowful or dismal one, not happy or sensuous or imaginary. So the right option is C, dismal, because this stanza presents a dismal picture of the sufferings and sorrows of the people on this earth. Next, number 76. Most of the lines of Ode to a Nightingale are written in, the options are trochaic pentameter, iambic tetrameter, alexandrine. Alexandrine is also called iambic hexameter, iambic pentameter. We know that Ode to a Nightingale has total 8 stanzas, and each stanza has 10 lines, so total 80 lines, and all the lines are written in iambic pentameter, except the 8th line or line number 8 is written in iambic trimeter. So most of the lines are written in obviously iambic pentameter. So the right option is D, iambic pentameter. Next, number 77. That thou, light-winged dryad of the trees. According to classical mythology, dryad is a or an. The options are nymph, bird, goddess, angel. We know that according to classical mythology, dryad is a wood nymph or nymph of the trees. So the right option is A, nymph. Next, 78. In Ode to a Nightingale, the flower which withers away quickly is, the options are violet, hawthorn, musk rose, pastoral eglantine. We know that in stanza 5, Keats mentions various kinds of flowers. Actually, this stanza is full of sensuous description, and here he mentions different kinds of flowers like white hawthorn, pastoral eglantine, violets, and musk rose. And in this context, he says, fast fading violets covered up in leaves. So the flower which withers away quickly or fades Quickly is obviously violet because Keats himself says fast fading violets, that is violet, which fades or withers away quickly. So the right option is A, violet. Next, 79. The murmurous haunt of flies. Here, the sense which dominates is, the options are hearing, smell, touch, sight. This line is from the fifth stanza, and the fifth stanza we know is noted for sensuousness because while going through this stanza, most of the senses get active. But in this particular line, the murmurous haunt of the flies on summer's eve, here the sense which dominates, it is mainly hearing. Why hearing? Because there is sound effect, murmurous haunt. So the right option is A, hearing. And this line, rhetorically, this is also an example of onomatopoeia due to sound effect. So rhetorically, onomatopoeia. So the right option is A, hearing. Next, number 80. In some melodious plot, rhetorically, this line is an example of, the options are alliteration, transferred epithet, hyperbole, oxymoron. Alliteration we know, in an alliteration, the same word or syllables or letter is repeated at the beginning of successive or nearly successive words. For example, nor cast one longing lingering look behind, or alone, alone, all alone, alone on a wide, wide sea, or a slumber did my spirit seal. Then transferred epithet. In a transferred epithet, the epithet or adjective is transferred from its proper place to another associated with it. For example, he spent a sleepless night. Then hyperbole or exaggeration. In a hyperbole, an exaggerated statement is made. For example, I am tired to death. Then oxymoron. In an oxymoron, two contradictory words are juxtaposed for a striking effect. For example, this is an open secret. And this line, in some melodious plot, this is an example of, obviously, transferred epithet or hyperbole. Why transferred epithet? Because here the epithet or adjective melodious is transferred from song to plot. Actually, plot is not melodious, but the song of the nightingale is melodious. So, this is an example of, obviously, transferred epithet or hyperbole. So, the right option is B. Next, 81. The rhyme scheme of each stanza of Ode to a Nightingale is, the options are ABAB, CDCD, EE, ABAB, CDE, DEC, ABAB, CDE, CDE, and last one ABBA, ABBA, CD. We know that Ode to a Nightingale has total 8 stanzas and each stanza contains 10 lines. So the poem has total 80 lines and the rhyme scheme of each stanza is ABAB, CDE, CDE. So the right option is C, ABAB, CDE, CDE. Now let's explain the rhyme scheme. Pains, it's A. Then drunk, different sound, so it's B. Then drains, pain, drains, same syllable, same sound, so also A. Then sunk, drunk, sunk, B. So ABAB. Then lot, new one, so C. Then last syllable, happiness, ness, new one, D. Then trees, new one, E, so CD. Then plot, lot, plot, so C. Then less, ness, less, D. Then is, trees, is, E. So what do we find? ABAB, CDE, CDE. So the right option is C. ABAB, CDE, CDE. Next, 82. According to Keats, Mid-May's eldest child is, the options are pastoral eglantine, hawthorn, violet, musk rose. We know that in stanza 5, Keats mentions various kinds of flowers, and here he personifies the musk rose by comparing it to the eldest child, and he says, and Mid-May's eldest child, the coming musk rose. So, Mid-May's eldest child is obviously the coming musk rose or musk rose. So, the right option is D. Musk rose. Next, 83. Of beech and green. Beech is a kind or species of, the options are bird, tree, animal, which. Actually, beech is a kind of tree. So, the right option is B. Tree. Next, 84. Full of dewy wine. This is said about, the options are violet, musk rose, hawthorn, lotus. And this line is from the 5th stanza. The full line is, and Mid-May's eldest child, the coming musk rose, full of dewy wine. So this is said about obviously musk rose, because according to Keats, the musk rose is full of wine or honey. So the right option is B. Musk rose. Next, number 85. The nightingale sings spontaneously, welcoming the season of, the options are summer, spring, autumn, winter. We know that Keats heard the song of the nightingale in spring and he started writing the poem, and according to him, the bird welcomes the season of obviously summer, because in the opening stanza we find the line, singest of summer in full-throated ease. But the song he heard was in spring, because after spring comes summer. In England, we find spring in the months of March, April and May, and summer prevails in the months of June, July and August. Next, 86. Where youth grows pale, spectre thin and dies. This is an example of, the options are Hypales, Polysyndeton, Asyndeton, Pan. Hypales, we know it's also called transferred epithet, that is the epithet or adjective is transferred from its proper place to another associated with it. For example, the plowman homeward plods his weary way. Then polysyndeton, in a line connective conjunctions are excessively used. Asyndeton, words and phrases are used without any connective conjunction. Then pan, we know in a pan there is the duplicity of sense or meaning under the unity of sound. And this line, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies. And here we find excessive use of and. So this is an example of polysyndeton, because here the connective conjunction and is excessively used. So this is an example of obviously polysyndeton, B. And this line, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies, this line is also examples of climax and synecdoche. Why climax? Because we know that in a climax, a series of words or ideas is arranged in an ascending order of importance. And here the words pale, spectre thin and dies are arranged in an ascending order of importance, so that the most important one, that is dies, comes last. So this is also an example of climax. Again, this is an example of synecdoche. Why synecdoche? Because here youth stands for young person, so abstract for concrete, equal to synecdoche. So in this line we find polysyndeton, climax and also synecdoche. Next, 87. But in embalmed darkness, gaze each dash. Fill in the blank. The options are tree, flower, sweet, sound. This line is from the 5th stanza, and in the 5th stanza, the poet is in the world of the nightingale where darkness prevails, and due to this darkness, he can't see the flowers. And here he says, I cannot see the flowers at my feet, nor what soft incense hangs upon the boughs, but in embalmed darkness gaze each sweet. So the right option is sweet. Sweet means here sweet smelling flowers. So the right option is C, sweet. Next, 88. Ode to a Nightingale was written in. The options are 1817, 1818, 1820, 1819. We know that Keats heard the song of a nightingale when he was at Hampstead with his friend Charles Brown, and this song inspired him to write this poem. And he was at Hampstead in 1819. So the poem was written in 1819, and the season was spring, and it was published in the same year, that is 1819. Next, 89. Lethe words had sunk. According to classical mythology, Lethe is the river of, the options are fear, the fairies, forgetfulness, vigor. We know that according to classical mythology, Lethe is the river of Hades, and it is said that human beings cross this river before birth, that is before coming to this earth, and again after death, that is before leaving this earth. And after crossing this river, they forget everything. That's why this is called the river of forgetfulness. So the right option is C, forgetfulness. Because according to classical or Greek mythology, Lethe is the river of forgetfulness. Next, 90. With the happiness of the nightingale, the poet is. The options are envious, indifferent, happy, critical. And the idea of happiness with the song of the bird is to be found in the opening stanza. And here the poet says, "'Tis not through envy of thy happy lot, but being too happy in thine happiness." That is, the poet is also extremely happy with the happiness of the bird, or with the happy song of the bird. So, with the happiness of the nightingale, the poet is obviously happy, not envious or indifferent or critical. So, the right option is C, happy. So, completed all the questions.